Time, 6:15. I will read the state of emergency public access notice due to public safety concerns regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting will be open to the public through remote participation only. The meeting will be accessible to the public via audio conferencing capabilities by telephone. If you would like to listen live, please dial 425-436-6392 and enter the access code 604239. To join the teleconference, please be advised the chairwoman may or may not allow questions from the listening public. You do not have any appointments this evening, although I see
That we have a guest.
we have a guest. In terms of principal assessor's report, I have a couple of things, but I'll pick them up under new business and old business. You have warrants before you for your signatures, bills payable, the usual motor vehicle, trailer, boat, excise abatement certificates or denials, and so on and so forth, as listed on the agenda. I do have minutes. You received copies of them, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yes.
February 16th and March 2nd
Yeah, I forget the dates on.
for your
we did
review and
receive some,
approval.
yeah.
Make a motion to accept minutes for February 2nd, 22,
February 16th
February 16th,
and
2022,
March 2nd.
and March 2nd, 2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No. I wasn't here for the 16th. If you break them apart to the February 16th and March 2nd, I can vote yes for one and
You can
Not on the
break-
other.
You can make two motions, one to accept February 16th and Paula can
Make a
abstain.
motion to accept
should
I mean,
February,
separately, yes, we'll do it separately.
February
Yeah.
16th, 2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
no.
Is that no or abstain?
I don't know anything about those minutes, so I'm saying no.
Okay.
Is that really the same thing, abstaining and,
Well, kinda. Depends on how you look at it.
and I never really understood those fine lines.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no means you don't approve of them. Abstain means I wasn't here, or I haven't had time to review them,
There was a specific reason. or
but I'm not
something.
opposed to it,
Yeah,
but I just have
yeah,
circumstances.
okay. Thanks.
So 210, and then a motion for March 2nd
Motion
would be.
for March 2nd to accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
300.
Mhm. Thanks, Cheryl.
Paul, is that 300?
Yes, yes, I was fine with that one.
Thank you. So, a couple of items under old business and new business. One is the Board of Selectmen's rejection of the Board of Assessors petition to promote the principal assessing clerk to head assessing clerk. The chairman asked that I put this on the board for discussion. As you know, you made the request of the board sometime after your February 2nd meeting. And I just point out that you made a statement in that request that you reviewed the budget and there was money in the budget. And then on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen's meeting, Linda sent a memo to the Board of Selectmen saying she's reviewed the budget and she didn't think there was money in the budget. And then sometime after the Board of Selectmen's meeting, we received a letter stating that the board did not act on your request,
Mhm.
stating that pending town meeting action.
So there is money or isn't money there? I mean,
Oh, there is money in the budget now.
Well, Can
what
you?
were they going for? It was, overall, was it in our budget, were we like, what, a couple % higher than the previous year? I don't have it in front of me, I forget. I know all the years, recently, it's been, level funded or whatever.
Yeah, it's increased a couple of percentage every year. This year, as you know, it increased by $7,500 for those three appraisals, and then
You put that aside for a second.
the usual cost of living increases and.
But I know last year, the year before, it wasn't an increase. It was, per the, for the town, it was, recognized as being level funded
Yeah,
because.
most of it was level funded.
With the COVID stuff and everything.
Level services.
I'm sorry, yeah, I get level, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for FY, so for the one coming in, we showed an increase of what, 3 or 4%, including the 7,500?
For fiscal '22, I'd have to check, Steve.
Yeah.
Because obviously that was last year,
23,
not the budget that you just presented back in January.
So they did not, the selectmen, Cheryl, unless you want to say it, I'm sorry, unless
No,
you
go
want to say
ahead,
something.
go ahead.
So the selectmen said the raise or the promotion wasn't warranted because of lack of funds,
Evidently.
or something close to that.
Well, John, I remember we had that meeting, how did you figure out that we would have the money in the budget to do the increase for her? Because I remember there was something about you leaving a month before your contract, you would have normally been here, what we were already funded for. I know we had talked about that. That would cover it for a short period of time. But then we also would have to pay out your comp time, and that comes out of our budget, not selectmen's budget. So how would we be able to afford to give it to her now versus after town meeting?
Sure. So first of all, we're talking about 3 months left in the fiscal year. Okay. And so when I reviewed the budget, I looked at our consulting services and our contractual services. And as you know, we put money aside for engineers, expert witnesses. We don't have any appellate tax board cases scheduled between now and the end of the fiscal year. So there is more than enough money in the budget. It has nothing to do with my salary when I retire. It has nothing to do with that.
Right, but that was part of it when we were looking at the whole thing of
Right.
money, what we've got sitting there still. Okay, so we would have that for the remainder of this year, but then the problem comes in if we give the poor girl the money now and then we don't get it at town meeting. We can't do that to her. We gotta know that we're gonna have it. So I mean, I
Well-
get what the selectmen are saying, but
But that's not the case, because like with your thing there a couple of years ago, where we've approved it, then we have to find the money within the budget.
Of course.
So we do, but I'm not saying we have it per se, nickel for nickel right in the table, but depending on the amount of money you're talking
Well,
about,
they cut his money.
and, let's say it's, I'm making it up, 3,500, then we'd have to find it.
Yep.
Because don't forget,
Agreed.
doesn't it come under, isn't there, personal services and, ordinary, so it's really,
It's anywhere in the entire budget.
right, exactly, yeah.
Madam Chair, can I speak for a second? I was just, for the record, I want to make it clear that my board did not reject your offer to promote Ms. Nielsen. They took a vote and said that they would review it after town meeting. They would like it to make sure it's funded. Like Paula was stating, is we don't want to promote something and give it to Daniela, and then all of a sudden, town meeting comes in May and we don't get funded.
But are you talking about the position or our budget as a whole? Because, like we said,
So
if
promotion, I'm talking about the actual promotion.
not the money, but the promotion.
Well, the money also. So
But-
if the money's not there.
It's
the
one
money-
thing.
John's saying that the money is there now. He has extra money in his budget. The problem is come May, if town meeting doesn't approve the extra money.
But what if, that's what I just got through saying, that if we take our budget and all of a sudden they say, there's no money for that raise, and we want the person to get that, then we'd have to find it within our own budget.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's supposed to come out of the salary line.
No, well, that's what I just said a second ago. What'd you say, come out of anywhere?
No, you have to find it anywhere.
But it really should come out of the salary line where
But yeah,
it's
is it-
designated.
Is that a
Preferably.
bylaw or something? Because that's the way I understood it, that it was two parts, like it used to be when I was at the city of Brockton. It was personal services and ordinary, ordinary maids, what do we call it? So it had to come in one of those two and down there anyways, in those categories. So it might not come out as, say, her line for her pay, but it might come out extra money with his, or, or something like, find it within the budget.
Yeah. In the town of Wareham, for example, our budgetary process says in the bylaws, personnel services can only be expended for personnel services. And if you need money for personnel services, you cannot take it out of the general account.
You can't, right,
But in the town of West Bridgewater, the money is available from any source in the budget.
yeah, like our budget, let's say it runs 235,000. So if we need the extra 3,500, I'm making a number up once
Yeah.
again, then it's up to us to say, all right, then we have to cut out, what do we have to cut out to get that money? Because there's no doubt in my mind, we have to do something like that, Linda, because I understand, they're playing the hard line, that's what they have to do. Otherwise, things get out of control. And what we're saying for the salaried or for the position, we feel the gal, as you've heard us say, does an outstanding job. And
There's no
that's,
question that I will.
No, I know you know.
And she's a very good employee, she does an outstanding job
So-
in her position.
so I'm saying
But
that
my
we-
thing is that the board has to wait until town meeting.
Yes.
To make sure it's funded. Because if everybody did that, then everybody could just
Right.
take it out of their bottom line, and why not? We wouldn't have a salary line, we wouldn't have salary lines.
but then if we couldn't find it, we couldn't find it. But if we can find it somehow, we had to find somebody for, I forget, on your thing, remember a couple of years ago, weren't we short or
Yeah, I
something?
think 12,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we scraped off the bone, but
Yeah, we got
I
it.
hear what you're saying, they want to see town meeting, I definitely agree to that, so we
So
can
I
take it
just-
from
I was
there.
a little taken back by the way the agenda was worded, saying that the board rejected it, because that's not the case. And I don't want it to come across as the case, because the board did not reject it.
Right.
They are referring, they.
One step at a time type of
Exactly,
thing.
and once
Right.
town meeting's over, I'll go back to the board and
Right.
present it again to them.
I can appreciate that.
But I wanna make
Well,
sure
the
that
chair- I'm
everybody's
speaking for
on
the- yeah.
the same page, that, we don't have Danielle, like I said, is a very good employee. And there's steps that we have to also take. She's a union employee, so I have to meet with the union. I don't know what the union feelings are on this. I
Well-
don't have any memos from the union.
But with this type of, we're looking for the realigning of the position, so the previous steps, wouldn't they be, it's probably already gone through them, wouldn't we start over with some new position, if she goes like from secretary to administrative assistant, wouldn't it be like a new set of,
The thing is, the union also has to agree upon that. And I'm not so sure. I haven't heard anything from the union, so I don't even know where this stands in the union.
Just for clarification, I spoke with the union steward, and she said she fully supported
Right.
the recommendation.
well, I agree that, we're
But I
gonna,
don't
we're gonna
have
wait for
it
town
yet.
meeting anyway, so, that's for sure, Okay,
Well, a couple of we're arguing semantics in terms of rejection or denial or postponement or
Right.
whatever label we want to put on it. But I do want to say for the record, traditionally, when these requests have been made from the Board of Assessors previously to promote other individuals
Right.
in the middle of a fiscal year, and if the board said the money was available, the Board of Selectmen have supported that
Right.
request. And the second thing, I have a question for you, Linda. Did the Board of Selectmen say that they supported the promotion pending the money? Or did they just say, we'll see if there's any money?
Basically, they took no action, and then they're gonna take action once town meeting is.
Okay, so I don't see,
They're waiting for the funding to be approved. They wanna make sure the funding's approved, because obviously they don't wanna offer an employee something, and the money is not there come
Do you see-
July 1st.
do you see my position? There wasn't even an expression of support.
We did, they looked at it, they definitely looked at it. Did they deny it? Definitely not deny it. They didn't deny it. They're just asking it for, all they're asking for is basically to take the vote after town meeting. I don't understand why you're having such a problem with
I don't have
that.
a problem, I just asked a question. And you answered my question, thank you. They didn't support the position, right?
I didn't say they didn't support, so don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not trying to.
I didn't put that in,
I mean,
I
you
didn't
wanna-
put that in the letters, I didn't say they didn't support it.
I've said all I need to say, thank you.
I know previously with my experience, when we wanted to give someone a promotion in the office, we sent the letter up and it was taken care of and they got their promotion. I don't care if it was in October or any other month before that. They got it.
Something like for instance, my contract, I have, I have a
You're on
contract that's
contract.
pending,
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not getting funded till July. So if they don't fund it, then I can't get paid.
Yeah. Oh, they'll fund it.
So now I'm curious, who was paid, who,
Well, I'm not gonna say names, Paula, I've been here almost 21 years. I know who's gotten raises, who's had different promotions offered and gotten their promotions.
well, no, I understand that, but if what you're
That's
saying
all I
is,
have to say.
but if these things were going on and it's not being done now, well, then that's a question is, well, why
that
did
is a
this happen?
question.
Well, that's why I'm saying, who did this
That is.
happen with, so we can investigate it further and,
I don't have to give names, I'll decide if I wanna do that later. But I'm telling you, I've been here almost 21 years.
I understand
I
that.
know the routine.
Okay, but that's why I'm saying that if they're doing something different, then
Well,
it needs to be
It
addressed.
seems like it's different.
I
Well, I
don't,
have to say, within the 3 years I've been here, we haven't promoted someone to anything. So I
Just
can't say
telling
what
you what I
happened
know.
prior.
Well, I can say what happened prior, because I know.
All right, John, what else you got there, kid?
The principal assessor's position. Just to update the board, as you know, the position was posted on the town of West Bridgewater's website. Thank you, Linda. Linda also posted the job advertising in the Mass Municipal Association online. It was too late to get it into the print edition. Thank you again. And we have one application so far. So I think the only issue that we need to address now, because there's been some controversy over it, is the screening committee. And I was operating on the assumption that the Board of Assessors were going to review all applications for the position. But you have a letter in front of you that came in today. It was unanticipated item from a taxpayer and frankly for a candidate for this office, suggesting that you do things otherwise. So again, I'm operating under the assumption that the board will review the applications for abatement. The board will make a decision. The board will turn the decision over to town administrator, HR, the Board of Selectmen. HR can do their thing in terms of query checks and any administrative work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
but I don't understand, why are we having all the applications sent to John? Shouldn't they go to HR? Just for the gathering purposes, and then we get them afterwards?
Well, this is the way they've always gone for the past 3 or 4 hires I've done.
Just because we've done it that way in the past doesn't mean we need to continue or that it's necessarily the right way.
I honestly don't find a problem with it.
I do. I think it's a problem. They should go to HR. That's what we pay her for.
John does the job, he knows what the requirements are.
Okay, but
Oh,
we're
when
not,
you-
Tell
when you think
exactly
though-
what their things are.
but we're not talking, hold on, just please, for 1 second,
Sure.
please.
Take your time, yeah.
But we're not talking about what the requirements are. We're talking about the applications coming in, going to HR. HR is not reviewing them for us. Doesn't need to know what the criteria is, what they need to have or don't have. That still comes back to the board. We're just talking about the gathering purposes. Because you guys are always talking about, John's got 101 things to do. Why are we adding this silly little thing onto there with all of the other emails and stuff he gets every day? They should go to HR. HR collects them, gives them to us, and then we deal with HR when we've got to wherever we're going to be.
Yeah.
A couple of things, Paula. First of all, it's gone back and forth between HR and assessors. I remember about 3 years ago, Linda, when we advertised a clerical position, and Linda wanted me to accept all the applications, which I foolishly agreed to, because I ended up getting about 200 or 300
I remember that. I think it
applications.
was over 300.
And I told Linda at the time,
God love you.
never again. I'm not doing that again. This is not a clerical position. This is for the principal assessor.
I'm aware.
I anticipate that we'll probably receive 5, maybe 12 applications. So no, I don't consider that a burden. Of course, I'm busy, but I don't consider that a burden. I consider that my duty to the board to prepare those and process them. And that's what the board's, as Cheryl said, that's what the board's done before. And of course, it's never a good answer to say, that's the way we always did it. But I think in this case, it is appropriate because the board understands who they want for the next principal assessor.
Right, in that part, I agree. But all we're talking about is where they go, which I still think they should go to HR. HR then gives them to the board. The board makes their decisions from there.
If I may, I just, you know,
Yeah, I'm done. That's up to the
Yeah.
board.
May I, Cheryl? That's correct, except for, does it really make a difference? HR is gonna be involved, believe me, because, you know, once we collect them and go through them and, you know, decide how we wanna set up the process, she's got plenty of work to do with the candidates, and most importantly, the required query checks and, or whatever else you gotta do. But whether it goes for her, to us, back to her, I'm just saying they can come to, if John wants to do it that way, right? And then at some point, once we've collected it at the deadline, then you hand them over to HR to say, do your thing, and we have an idea of, you know, what we want to do and how we want to approach it. So I'm of the, whatever the word is, to do it the way you want, you know, to collect them. And obviously, HR is going to become important in that process. That's what their duty is for the town. Most important duty is that the query check and et cetera. And, you know, I saw a case in another city I worked in where a person said they had a 4-year degree that was required for the position, and they didn't have it, and that's what they, so most importantly, stuff like that, the formal stuff, agree, but whether she gets it now, the HR gets it now, or somewhere in the process, it makes no difference. I just assume look at those things as soon as we can. So I see no difference, but, you know, as far, in my opinion, I don't care how we're gonna do it, but in my opinion, for us to, you know, let's say a dateline or whatever it's gonna be, collect them, review them, right, and then, you know, give them all to Linda or the ones we think are necessary to check, not to waste her time or our time with them.
I agree.
Because, you know, I had a guy, when we hired John in an interview, we hired 6 people. The guy never measured a garage. So I said, what are you doing sitting here? There's the door, you know, so I brought him in as a courtesy, East Bridgewater or
Yes,
whatever.
I
Remember that guy?
Yep.
And so this time we'll go through them and not to waste our time or Linda's time, try to whittle it down to, whatever, we have 5 or 6 good candidates and go from there.
Right.
But I was gonna say, I don't see where it's any different than when, if we're hiring a clerical person, then we're hiring an assessor. If we're getting 600 of them versus we're getting 5, I feel they really should come to me.
They will, but there's a big difference between clerical, this is obviously.
But I'm feeling like John's picking and choosing. He didn't want to handle the clerical portion anymore because he was getting too many of them, and now he's only getting a couple of the assessor one, because the end result is the board makes the decision on who we're gonna hire. So all I'm doing is getting the resumes and vetting them, basically all of them. I don't go through them and say, okay, I like this person, I don't like this person. It's basically coming to my office as the record holder, and I'm basically giving them to the board.
Now,
But-
what's gonna happen with that is John will give us each and every application that comes in.
Correct, so would I.
Each and every.
I don't go through each one.
Well, I mean, what you said, didn't you say that you think he's picking and choosing?
No, I'm saying he's picking and choosing because first, when we hired, you know, a clerical position, he was getting too many of them, and then he, like he said, he didn't wanna get 600 of them. But now all of a sudden, why is the situation changed where he's getting them? How does he know he's not gonna get 600?
But it's changed.
I know.
Linda, it's changed tremendously. It's due to the position of the hiring. You know, we're talking about a position here. I'm not saying it's, you know, better off or more sophisticated than a clerical position, but what I'm saying, there's gonna be a lot more looked into it for professional status and, you know, good stuff like that.
And of
It's
course-
an important position, and he hit the nail on the head by saying it's gonna be a dozen applicants versus, you know, 332 of them. So, and I appreciate where you're coming from, because obviously, I just said a minute ago, your end of it, or the HR, is, you know, obviously very important. We're gonna just try to say, okay, there's 17 here, we want these 7 to be reviewed by the HR, because it's gonna be one of these 7 to get the job.
But you have to realize the other boards allow me to get the resumes. I give them all the resumes, and you know, most of the time I'm part of the screening committee. So that way, and it's
Sure.
the board's decision who they're picking. I'm not They're
We
not
know that,
working
yeah.
for me.
We know that, yeah.
So I'm not the one who's picking this person, but I would like to be involved.
Oh, yeah, but I just said, well, the
I
board,
would like to be on the screening committee if I could be on the screening committee.
absolutely. When we conduct an interview, you can be sitting there, obviously, and we want that. All we're saying is that to pick out, well, I've already been through it, so I'm not gonna, rehash
But
it.
I wouldn't pick them out.
So,
No, I know you wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. We would do that and give you the applications of the ones that we want you to screen and look at closely.
Who do
John?
you think is a good?
I just want to get it clear. So how do you want to go through the interview process? Because as you know, some of these applicants are going to ask that their applications be kept confidential. They don't want their current place of business to know that they're out
Right.
looking around. Which is why I thought it would be better to channel them through my office, because I can be sensitive to that,
That's right.
and I can make the board sensitive to that. So are you saying that you're going to interview candidates in open session or in executive session?
I didn't say that at all, John. I don't know what I'm saying in that. I didn't say that at all. I said, as far
No,
as when
no,
we
I'm just
conduct an
trying to get
interview,
I'm
we
just
want
trying
the
to get
HR, we want
clarification.
HR there, that's all. How we do it, that we can decide that now or later. I didn't say I didn't say anything to that point.
I'm just trying to get clarification.
Right, I understand that, but typically in those things, they're kept confidential for the candidates, own, whatever.
Right.
I know it's, we should say it to them, but that's understood. If I'm applying for a job, I don't want it out next door,
Right.
And obviously, when they come in, part of the thing we would say is that, like in this interview was, unless you tell us otherwise, is kept with strict confidence.
That's what I would assume you would do. I would assume.
Oh,
you-
absolutely. Well, I would
assume you
think that,
interview them in
yeah. That's how,
executive session.
I've gone through
I think we
several
met in
principal
executive
assessors
session
since I've been
last
here.
time.
Sorry?
Didn't we meet in executive session
I-
with all
I-
our last ones?
Oh,
I believe so.
Yeah.
But-
We've hired,
Years
in my
ago.
stay here, we've hired, I think you're the fourth principal or third.
Yeah.
That's how we've always done it,
Yeah. So I hope you understand, Linda, but I think that's the way we want to do it, and that's the way we've done it. And like I said, we're going to be utilizing you for the benefits packages.
But I hope you would
Cory,
really
check.
consider me as part of the screening committee as well.
We will.
Thank you.
We'll consider that.
Okay. So my next item, it's not on the agenda because it was unanticipated. The board had received a request for copies of comp time from Paula, and you know the communications that went back and forth between the clerk's office and our office. And so I believe that I had satisfactorily responded to that request, but I received an email from Paula this afternoon that she doesn't think I responded satisfactorily. So I just want to put a few things on the record regarding my comp time. As you know, I was out of the office for 10 weeks in order to recuperate from 2 major cancer surgeries that were not diagnosed initially as cancer. It may have seemed like short notice to some people to be out because my first surgery had been rescheduled from mid-May to March unexpectedly. And fortunately for me, it got moved up because, as it turned out, I had a very rare form of cancer. What I first thought was a routine surgery turned into a radical surgery. Luckily for me, I have rarely called in sick to work for over 10 years. So I have had ample time for sick time on the books to cover my family's expenses while I was recovering. It is self-evident, kind of a no-brainer, that I would have to make up the missed working hours because the work still needed to get done. I do note that if the town had a work-from-home policy in place, as many other communities do, I could have done some things from home during my recovery. And I did actually take care of some business regardless of the lack of a policy. As it stands, I managed to make up for being out of the office for 10 weeks with 4 weeks of comp time. Truth be told, it was probably more than 4 weeks that I reported. And last but not least, I have never been paid a dime for my comp time in my 10 years of working for the town of West Bridgewater. All of my comp time has been approved either by the chairman of the board or the Board of Assessors, or a majority of the Board of Assessors. And I will say, finally, I wish to thank the Board of Selectmen for putting the pressure on me to get my paperwork done, because I admittedly have a tendency to let comp time documentation slip to the bottom of my list of priorities. So I am in receipt of your email, Paula. I will respond to that as soon as possible, but I would like to try to put this controversy to rest once and for all.
Well, it is a public records request, so you have whatever the allotted amount of days are.
As you know, Paula, based on the emails that were sent from the town clerk, you don't need to make a public request. As a member of the Board of Assessors, you can make a request anytime during any meeting for anything that comes under the purview of the Board of Assessors.
You're absolutely right, I can, but unfortunately, we've gone back and forth about comp time before, and it was a argument between you and I to get it. I've asked for other things before. It ends up being an argument. You then go to the chair. Chair says you're too busy, you got other things going on, which along with our 2018 through current executive session minutes. There's been nothing released since February 18th, or February of 2018 for executive session. And I know the board voted to not release minutes if anything hadn't been 100% resolved yet, but I can't believe that we've had nothing since 2018 that can be released. And I've brought that up before, and I've gotten nothing. So yes, I felt I had to do a public records request to get the information.
Do you have all the information that I
You could
sent
do a
you?
public
Do you have
records.
all the comp time from July 1st to February as requested?
I sent you the email, and I'm assuming you have the original one, and if you didn't have it, I gave you a copy in that email of what my
It's a
original.
simple question, Paula. It's a yes or no question. I sent everything to you
What
from
you s-
July 1st to February. Did you receive it or didn't you receive
What
it?
you sent to me was the days and the hours, and I believe you had on there as well what you were doing. That didn't complete everything I asked for.
Based on your most recent email, but that's not what I asked you, Paula. I asked you, did you receive them?
I received
You have them
something
in your
from.
possession.
I received something from you. It does not fulfill the request.
I guess that answers my question.
You
Thank you.
have it in writing.
Thank you. So I think that's it for open session.
Also, though, can we just go back to the comp time for a second? Did you say a few minutes ago that you've never been paid any comp time?
I have received comp time as comp time. In other words, for example, I was in the hospital last week, as you know, and I was still not really up to full strength Monday and Tuesday. So I took half a day comp time Monday and half a day comp time Tuesday. But the town has not written me a check for comp time.
Okay, so
Period.
you're referring to
Full stop.
paying you out for your comp time.
That's correct.
Not
Just
taking-
as you referenced earlier about the money coming out of the budget when we were talking about Daniela's promotion. No money has been paid out of the budget for comp time.
Right, to just write you an extra check. You're not talking about taking a day off as comp time.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, because I know prior to your most recent contract, you had taken comp days here and there, so I just want to make
That's
sure I
correct.
understood.
And did you receive my comp time for February?
I did, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't think there's anything else for open session. So I think it's appropriate for the board to enter into executive session to review applications for abatement, exemption classification relative to Purpose 7, Mass General Law,
Thanks, Linda.
Chapter 59, Section 60, to review and discuss strategy of pending appellate tax board cases relative to Purposes 3 and 7, Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 60, and one more item that
You
was...
see, 1 second, John, is he?
Yep.
Not yet.
We don't have a motion yet.
Oh,
And there's one more item that's not on the agenda because it was unanticipated, but the board received a request for executive session minutes, which Paula just referred to a few minutes ago. So I'm going to add that to what I request for a motion for executive session and not to return to open session.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go into executive session at 6:50 for the reasons John just cited. Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
McCarthy, yes?
Smith, yes?
Or when you do roll call, usually you say the person's name, but yes.
And
Yes.
just before you actually go into executive session, I just want to mention one more thing. As of April 1st, the COVID restrictions regarding the open meeting law will be suspended, will be lifted. And so the typical, normal, usual rules and regulations regarding open meetings will be back in full force. So I am recommending that the board meet on April 6th in its next meeting in the smaller conference room next door, because I think it's a little more conducive to having public participation. And I checked with cable TV, and they have a remote camera in there, and Ben can operate from here, but he can copy our meetings, record our meetings.
Sounds good.
So give us the heads up, Ben, please.